You are welcome to Tuntum Network. I'm Cyrus. Today's topic is quite tricky, and it's tricky because of the topic I'm talking about today. Twi should be Ghana's official language. And every time I raise this topic, a lot of people who know me are agitated. They are like this: Cyrus, we like you, we like your content, but topics like these put us off on watching you. But remember this, I'm not your regular podcaster. I raise issues that are uncomfortable, issue that touches the nerves of people and gets you talking, because that is where we solve problems. I believe there are a lot of issues Ghana should be discussing, very important ones, and not all that noise on social media. I want to give you more context. Let's go. This episode is brought to you by AM Gold Wines in Tesano. They are the importers and distributors of 12 different brands of wine from Spain and Italy. They sell at wholesale prices, and I'm sure when you call them, they'll make you a very good offer. This is the map of Ghana. We now have 16 regions, and I've been to 13 out of the 16. Upper East, Upper West, and Northeast regions are the only regions I'm yet to travel to. And in all the regions I've visited, I didn't have any real language barrier, so long as I spoke in Twi. It may not be the same situation everywhere across the country, but I managed to find many people who spoke Twi at every point in all the 13 regions. But before I continue, I'll please like you to answer these two questions for me. And please do well to give me honest, straightforward answers. Put away all biases and prejudices. First question: do you think Ghana should have one unifying language, a national language? And then the second question: which language should that language be? Think about these two questions, because I'll give my answer at the end of this podcast. You see, I'm an Akan man and a Fanti to be specific. But what I'm proposing here is Ghana adopts Asante Twi as its official language. And I did this exercise purposely whilst I traveled around the 13 regions out of the 16 in Ghana. And I've come to the conclusion that Asante Twi will be most suitable as Ghana's official language. But that doesn't mean we despise or we throw away the other languages. No, far from that. But what it actually means is then we develop the Asante Twi further, and then we teach it across the schools for national cohesion. Every serious country in the world has a unifying language. Our peers in South Korea speak Korean. Singapore speaks Chinese. Malaysia speaks Malay. Indonesia speaks Bahasa Indonesian. India, South Africa, they all speak their local languages, even though they also speak English. And President Paul Kagame, who to me is the greatest African president in my lifetime, upon becoming president, has pushed to make Kinyarwanda as Rwanda's first national language in addition to English. Listen, it doesn't make sense that the official language for Ghana will be a foreign language. It doesn't add up. And I have nothing against English, because I love English. It has helped me in my international travels for so many years. It's a widely spoken language. It is well developed and all that. But if you think about it critically, having your national language as a non-local language doesn't make sense. This thing is holding us back as a country, in my opinion. It is totally necessary that Ghana continues to use English in its diaspora dealings. But when it comes to internal matters, I suggest that we stick to a local language which is more familiar to the people. Take a look at these videos.
I find the theme for this year's Farmers' Day celebration: accelerating agricultural development through value addition, most appropriate and timely. Value addition as a means of accelerating the development of agriculture is one of the logical strategies.
These are videos of the president speaking in different localities across the country. His audience are predominantly peasants or local people, which some may or may not understand half of what he is saying. But I can confidently tell you that if he spoke in Twi, everyone sitting there will understand it more. Currently, Ghana speaks about 80 indigenous languages, as shown in the regions on this map. Now, out of these same regions, more than 80% of the people already understand or speak Twi to a certain level. Accra speaks Twi, Ashanti speaks Twi, Eastern, Western, Western North, Bono Ahafo, Central, Bono East, Ahafu, Oti, Northern region, all speaks Twi. And Twi is spoken in the Volta region, even though not as widely. The three upper regions, I understand, also speaks a lot of Twi. So then what is actually holding us back as a country from starting that conversation on a national language? Because clearly there is no white man in our way. There is nothing stopping us. So what could it be? Could it be that it's because of the politicians? Could it be that politicians want it this way so that they can continue deceiving and denying our people from understanding the issues of this country? Or could it also be that we as a people don't want one language to look as more superior to the rest of the other languages? When I was a little boy, I grew up in a barracks because my father was a serviceman. In the barracks, the most common language was Twi, even though there were a lot of different tribal people living in the barracks. There was this particular man from the Volta region. This man was very strange. He hardly spoke to anybody except for my father, which was occasional. Well, because he and my father got into the service just around the same time. One day I went to this man's house. When I got there, his children were eating ampesi. And for those who are not from Ghana, ampesi is plantain or yam with gravy. And it's food, commonly associated with Akan people. So the man came home rather earlier that day and saw the children eat ampesi. He furiously knocked down the food, the whole food on the floor, and asked me to walk out. He kicked me out of his house. I was scared and ran away. In a few days, I saw my friend and I asked him, what happened to the food and your father? Then he said to me, well, my father doesn't allow us to eat any Akan foods, the boy said. And he doesn't allow us to speak any Akan language or watch any Akan programs on television. And for those of you who remember, those were the times when Osofo Dadzi, Akan drama, by the fireside, Mame Dokono was so popular on TV. And the man's wife was so attracted to these programs, but he denied them from watching any of those programs. But secretly, the children were learning Twi language. What has happened? Today, the man is retired and is gone back to his village in the Volta region. But the children are living in Accra and working here. My point here is very simple. Your children are already speaking Twi, if you be honest. If you live in Accra today, no matter your tribe, your kids are already speaking 2 languages in addition to their mother tongue. And that is English and Twi. You see, the coming generations aren't like our father's generation. They blend easily and they speak what's common and they associate better. If you do not restrict or pollute them, they will get along very fine. So what I see here as a societal challenge on this topic is the influence of the older generation on the younger generation due to their negative experiences of the other generation's tribes. I mean, those born in the 40s to the late 70s, they have such animosity towards other languages which I am researching on. Why was Ghana so divided by tribal issues in the past? These are questions that needs answers, and I'm doing that research on it right now. Even though it's a complicated discussion to have, I still think it's time for Ghana to have that same conversation of a national language, because the benefits are enormous. Benefit number 1, it builds the foundation for strong communication. People can understand one another properly. A lot of these misunderstandings will end. Number 2, it increases efficiency and productivity at the workplace. Benefit number 3 is it improves on our culture. We will then appreciate each other's culture and respect people's background. So there is more for us to benefit than to lose when Ghana gets one unifying language as our official language. So in going back to the 2 questions that I asked earlier, which were, should Ghana have one unifying language? And what language should that be? These are my answers. Yes, Ghana should have one unifying language. And number 2, that language should be Akan Twi. And my reasons are simple. Because it's the most widely spoken in all the regions in Ghana, the most spoken language in the major cities in Ghana, and the easiest language to learn in Ghana. Let me leave you with this proverb from Nelson Mandela in conclusion. And I quote, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. Meaning, if I am Gonja and I speak to another person in the Gonja language, when the other person knows that I am Gonja, that goes to the person's head, because the person already expects me to speak in Gonja language. But if I am Gonja and I speak to a Ga in the Ga language, when the Ga person knows that I am Gonja, it goes to that person's heart, because I'm not from the same tribe. And that is how language works. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment if you have to. Until we come your way again. Thank you, and it's bye-bye for now.